Hey everybody, Jared with Second Life Design. I've got a chainsaw milling video for you today. I'm working on a Carolina pear tree. This came down a month and a half ago. It had just kind of exceeded its life cycle. The property owner, good family friend, had taken it down, contacted me, asked me if I wanted it. They said it was pretty big for what it was, so I was interested. Typically, fruit trees, ornamental trees like this do not yield a lot of material as far as slabs go. They're generally really good for turners. People do the wood turning, there's a lot of good material in them, but for slabs, they're generally just too small to get any usable boards out of. This particular tree is 22 inches across the small end, and the widest crotch section's 46 inches across. So it's kind of unique. It is a little bit bigger than normal, so I'm gonna take a shot at it. My experience before with fruit trees has been not the best. They have a lot of tension built up in them from all the weight of the fruit. It's just a lot of pressure gets built up. The fruit is hanging down on the limbs so much that it causes a lot of stress and a lot of tension in the limbs. When you go cut the slabs, it releases that tension and things crack apart generally. So it's been mixed results. I'm gonna take a shot at this one. It is so oddly shaped that I'm hoping to get one good slab. If I can cut one 3-inch thick slab out of it, that's what my goal is. I know that seems wasteful, but it's also the way this is shaped. That's going to be, I want to get it. I'd rather have one primo slab than two kind of iffy ones that are going to crack up and do some weird stuff. So it's going to be a unique piece anyway. It's going to be a unique coffee table, headboard, something in that realm. So if I get one good slab out of it, that's okay. And if not, then I tried. And yeah, that's what this is. It's all a gamble anyway. So I'll turn the camera around, I'll show you what I got, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the tree. It is 6.5 feet long. Across from here to there is 44 inches, 46 inches, somewhere in that area, and it's about 22 inches at the butt end. I already have the Granberg first cut system established on here. I have it all leveled. This was a really kind of a unique thing. I didn't give a lot of details in that. I'm not going to show you that because yours will invariably be different. So I don't want to, lead you down the wrong path of like how I would do it versus how you should. You just want to make sure the first cut system is good and level. That is the whole thing. It has leveling screws along the whole way. It's got the spikes you hammer in. Works awesome. Highly recommend that. So from here, I've done a lot of measuring. I measure kind of from the four corners of where it ends and measure down. I'll start at say 6 inches, so I'll have a 6-inch drop, and I see where that comes out on all the four corners. And I've determined that about 7 inches is where I need to be. So it's going to be taking a lot off the back end, but it's going to be where it's going to be coming through both of these limbs for the top cut, and that's what I want. That's going to get me fully established for my first slab, where I'll be making my first cut will go all the way through everything, to where the second cut, the money slab, the one I want to keep, will be full width, be fully engrossed in all the little offcuts that'll be going through that completely. That's what I'm after. So there's a lot of forethought, a lot of predetermining what you can do here that will help you a lot with your slabs. And this is also where you're starting to design your furniture. I mean, this is step one of furniture making, is harvesting the wood. So this way you can get the most out of it at any one time. So I'm going to go get my chainsaw, get it fired up, and we'll make a cut, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, getting ready to make my top cut. The top cut's always kind of a nerving time for me. This is where everything's getting established. This is kind of just the hard work and getting everything started. After here, it's just you're just down to the thickness of the slabs, that's all. But this is where you're kind of eliminating any twist, any kind of weird lines, any odd shapes. This is where you're eliminating that from happening. So it's always kind of an interesting time. This one is also unique in that the log is really light and it's oddly shaped, so it wants to roll. And this is something that kind of fought me through the whole thing, where I was having to kind of use the mill to steady the log as well as to make the slab. So the mill is so wide, it creates a lot of leverage. And you can kind of see the nose end of the bar dipping down there. That is from there's just so much torque and leverage generated with that thing that I really couldn't use my winch the way I normally would. I always recommend to people using an Alaskan winch, but I couldn't really in this case because I just needed to have both hands on the mill to keep everything steady. You see I'm taking a screw out here. One of the leveling screws on the first cut system backed out, kind of from the vibration of the saw. and it was hitting the mill frame, keeping it from going through. So it wasn't actually contacting the log. It was a low spot in the log where it wasn't touching. So take the screw out, no big deal. I've had that happen before, and it's not a problem. This tree cut really easily. I've typically found fruit trees to be a little bit on the harder side, where they get all that stress in them, and they can have some tough spots in them. This one cut really easy. This chain had been used before on some honey locust, but it still cut really smoothly. I was really happy with it and how long it took. It didn't really take me that long at all. This video sped up a little bit, but it was still only 6-7 minutes of cut, so I can't really complain about that. If you look at the power head, then just below it on the mill frame, it's just coming into the picture there. There's the roller wheels on the mill frame. There's the roller bracket. What that's doing, and it worked out awesome on this tree because of all the weird limbs on it. It is literally rolling along the log to reduce any friction. They're reducing any hang-ups that the mill might have. And that's where it was a godsend on this thing, because there's a lot of weird spots, and it just helped to kind of eliminate all that friction. Anything you can do to eliminate friction when you're milling is going to help you out in the long run. I've had to do some kind of weird sawing motions to get around crotch sections and different angles here, and this is something that works for me. I don't know if, you have to kind of find your own technique for that. Each log is a little bit different. And you can see on the right side, I'm missing the bottom log by a little bit, and that was just a miscalculation on my part. That's fine. Okay, so I missed this limb, and it's not ideal, but I'm not upset about it. I'd rather be a little bit too high than too low. You can see there's some really cool bark inclusions here. So that's where it originally was trying to grow together. Some other limbs are coming together, really cool stuff. So this is exciting. This is cool seeing. There's a lot of pinks and reds going on through there. So some really cool grain. Now, that top cut was 7 inches down. What I'm going to do is drop it to, looks like there's enough meat there. If I drop it 1.5 inches, so I guess not drop it to 1.5 inches. So I'm taking 1.5 inches cut. That should leave me where I'm taking a lot off of this side and not a lot over here. And then I'll still have enough over there to get a slab out of. So this isn't really my first money slab, I guess is what I'm getting at. This is another, I want to get down where I'm getting into this one as well. That's a big limb. I want to get into that as well, so I can get a lot more of the crotch grain going on here. So I'll do one more cut, and then I'll probably make my big cut where I'm only gonna get one slab out of it. But that's okay. This is really cool. It's really figured and looking really neat, so this will be a cool one. All right, getting back to doing the milling here. I changed my mind on the thickness a little bit, and I'll talk about that later in the video. I want to touch on chainsaws just for a little bit. I get a lot of questions about them and what size you need to do what, and I want to just kind of share some quick thoughts on that. I have a 661 steel I'm running a 56-inch bar right now. I also have a 42-inch bar for that. This is a lot of saw for the average homeowner, the average hobbyist. You wouldn't need anything this big. This thing's also really expensive. I think if you were to go, you can be realistic and get something with some decent power, something in the 70 cc range, 65 cc's, and still put probably a 42-inch bar on it. You can still mill something 36 inches wide, which, for the average person, that's pretty damn big. I wouldn't worry about, hurting the saw with something of that size. And you got to remember, the bar will fit on there. It's a matter of how fast it's going to turn the chain and how much power, how long it's going to take you, basically. If you're watching firewood guys, they want to rip through the log, they're cross-cutting. They want to do that in 10 seconds flat, to show how big they are. But with milling, you're taking a lot of material out of a wide cut for a really long time. So it's a matter of, the time is kind of irrelevant. It's going to take you minutes no matter what. So you can get away with a little bit smaller of a log, and it may not be the best idea long term, but if you're just a hobbyist and you have, say, like a 361, 362 steel, it's still a decent investment, but you can get into a pretty big saw. It'd still be good for firewood stuff and do the occasional milling and still be pretty comfortable with it. So I don't think, I think a lot of guys get wrapped up in having to have the biggest thing, and that becomes kind of a barrier for entry for them, where they I can't do it because I can't get the biggest. You definitely can use a smaller saw to mill. You just may not be able to do the biggest of logs, but you can still get a lot of cool stuff done. So I wouldn't get too wrapped up in chainsaw size. I think that's kind of a misleading thing and just kind of becomes a barrier for entry to people. Kind of an old drag racing term is just kind of, run what you brung, and that's showing up with what you have and doing the most you can with it. So I think that's something to keep in mind when you're doing your own milling on your own. Okay, so I changed my mind. I did some more measuring on this thing. What I just cut was a 2.5 inch thick slab. Here is the face side of it. This is all moisture in here. It's actually like wet to the touch. But I decided I'm just gonna go with some thicker slabs. Looking at it and just how cool it was, it would be a shame to cut it all up into one big slab, and I could maybe get a couple bigger ones. So change horses midstream, but that's all right. Yeah, really cool piece. That'll be a neat one just on its own. That'll be kind of a cool one. But yeah, a lot of different grain going through it. We'll see what it looks like we'll let it flash dry for a day or two and see what it looks like. This is my next one coming up. This one will be the widest for sure. And then I'm hoping I can get one more after that. So maybe I'll end up with 3 slabs, 2.5 inches thick. Get some more out of it. I'm not so wasteful with it. These things are so rare. Might as well get the most out of it I can, I guess. I'll cut the rest up for turning blanks for some friends, but yeah, I think this is the way to go. I'm feeling pretty good about it, but yeah, I'll get some more cutting. I want to get this thing wrapped up here in the next hour or so, but yeah, that's a really cool piece. That is, you can see, so this was some small limbs that were coming out the face, and there's some more. Yeah, a lot of different stuff going on with these things. Pretty cool. Okay, I had some really cool time-lapse stuff of milling these last 2, and my gimbal got knocked over, so I got a time-lapse of the sky. So here's where we're at. I finished up with 3 slabs, 2.5 inches thick. They're pretty good. I think, they're not as wide as I would have liked just because of the way the thing was twisted. I got, like a piece of this one, and that's probably gonna end up getting cut off. And this, the middle one's obviously the best. It's just the widest, but even like this, there's still a lot of, this is a big kind of weird area where, like how we have half of this one, it's the inverse up here. We have the other half of that one. So just kind of unique, but a lot of good coloring in them, a lot of bark inclusions. So yeah, I think these are some good pieces. These could be, I think all 3 of them could be kind of straight lined, where if you were to take kind of a straight line down each one and put together as a tabletop, that'd be kind of neat. That might be a little bit wide, but I think that'd be kind of a cool look. All the red streaking is going to go away. That's all moisture. You can see it's already even starting to lighten up over there. I'll post a picture in a few days on Instagram about this, but these will flash dry and they'll look totally different in a week. Even if they get rained on, doesn't matter. What I have left is this bottom cut, and what I'm going to do from about here forward is very thin, so it's just pretty much garbage, not a lot useful to me. But I'll take from here back and I'll cut that into kind of however wide it is. I'll cut those into chunks, and those can be turning blanks. Those can be some big bowls for somebody at some point, or myself if I get my lathe going. So getting the most out of it I can. I'm glad I went this route where I've got the 3 big slabs. They got just some more material out of it. So not that, initially I wanted one that was primo, and I was good with that. This got me 3 pretty good ones. So that's kind of better odds. So yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with it. These are kind of unique, as I'd said a couple times. So you get what you get. We'll see how they turn up in a couple years. They'll be usable for something, but for now, that's what we got. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything cleaned up. I'll get that cut up and the top cut up. I'll set those out and go for firewood. So that's what I have. Any other questions, let me know. Drop a comment here. The easier way to get a hold of me is on Instagram at Second Life Design. Send me a message on there. I respond a lot quicker. The comments on here are just kind of hard to see sometimes. But anyway, thanks for following along. Any questions, let me know. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. And have a good day.